Okay, welcome. What I'm going to do here is give an overview of the course that we just finished in my pronunciation class, the 10-week course on Introduction to Pronunciation of American English. So the first thing we focused on in the course was TH, because TH is one of the most frequent words in the English language, but hardly is used in any other language. English is one of the few languages that uses this sound. So whether it's voiced or voiceless, don't forget to make solid contact between your tongue and your upper teeth. Th. Nice strong th, blowing that air through between the tongue and the teeth. Okay, the next sound we looked at was ED. There's actually 3 different ways to pronounce ED in English. The first one is t, and that's used when the word ends in a voiceless sound, like a k, like bake. The T, instead of saying baked, we say baked. And when a word ends in a voiced ending, like play, the ED sounds like a d, played. But if the word ends in a T or a D, we actually add an extra syllable, and it sounds like this: dated or waited. So those are the 3 different ED pronunciations we looked at. Then we looked at syllables. Why do syllables matter? Because they can change the meaning of the word. So remember, don't add or take away any extra syllables, and really focus on how many syllables a new word that you're learning has, because it can be pretty confusing if, for example, you say estate instead of state. They're 2 very different things. Or closes instead of clothes. 2 very different meanings. Next, we looked at vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. We actually have 14 vowel sounds that we covered in this course. The front vowels are E like beat, I bit, A like bait, E like bet, and A like bat. And those all happen in the front of the mouth. E, I, A, E, A. Then the back vowels include oo, so I'm really stretching open the back of my mouth here. Oo like boot, like book, O like boat, and ah like bought. And the mid vowel is the sound, but. Then we have some vowels that actually have 2 sounds in them, like I, bike, O, bow, and oi, like boy. And we talked about these 2 vowel and 1 vowel rules. Do you remember what those are? If a 1-syllable word or part of a word has 2 vowels in it, like rule, then you look at the first one and you give it its alphabet sound. Oo, so U. U is the alphabet letter of the U, so rule. But if there's only 1 vowel in the word, like is, I-S, then instead of saying the I instead of saying eyes, we say I, because that's the relative vowel sound, I. So we looked at those words. A lot of the different words that have the 2 syllables or 2 vowels and 1 vowels follow these rules about 94% of the time. And we looked at a couple of videos. One is on Rachel's English, and she goes through all the different vowel sounds so that you can watch those at home and review. I'll just give you a reminder.
The ah sound. Say that with me. Ah.
Ah.
Ah. This sound occurs in words like father, hot, body.
So she goes through all the different vowels in the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet. Then we looked at 2 of the trickiest sounds in the vowel system, which is E and I. And some people call these long and short vowels. I don't use those terms, but a lot of people do, and I really like this video, so let's take a quick look and remind ourselves of this one.
Welcome Welcome everyone. This is the first in a new Fluency MC video series called Pronunciation Tips. Today I'd like to talk about the difference between the long E sound, E, and the short I sound, it. One of my students went to New York City and he was talking to an American, and the American said, "So, what do you think of New York?" And my student said, "Oh, I like eat." And the American said, "Oh, you like to eat here? What restaurants do you like?" And my student said, No, I mean, I like eat. I like New York, I like eat." "Oh, yeah, you like to eat the food here? Oh, what kind of food do you like to eat? What do you like?" And my student was really frustrated. I have another student who was walking in her neighborhood, and she saw a friend of hers, and the friend said, "Oh, wow, I didn't know you lived around here." And my student said, "Actually, yeah, I live here." And the friend said, "Oh, you're leaving? What do you mean? Where are you going?" She's like, No, I live here." And the friend didn't understand what she meant. Another story is one of my students who asked someone where to get a cheap lunch. And the person's like, "A chip lunch? Like a potato chip lunch?"
So you get the idea. I love this video. It's a great reminder of how important it is to distinguish between the E and the I, two really hard sounds. Then we looked at this idea from the author of our textbook, Judy Gilbert, which is this idea that every thought group in English has a focus word, and every focus word has a focus syllable, which gets the stress, and every syllable has a peak vowel, and that vowel is the top of the pyramid. That's where all the action, the spotlight happens, and that means that vowel gets stretched out, it's longer, it's louder, it's higher or lower, there's a pitch change of some kind, and all the other words as a result get kind of stuffed into the shadows and they get reduced with the schwa and all the different linkings that we talked about, so that the important peak words can stand out. So for example, how do you spell easy? So easy is the peak word and E is the peak syllable, so E gets stretched out. It's always the vowel that gets all that stretching and focus. So how do you spell gets really quickly reduced. It's softer, it's faster, it's shorter, and easy is longer and louder. We used kazoos to practice this idea, which is so important in English and doesn't happen in other languages. So the kazoo strips away a lot of the language, all of the language, which can get in the way and kind of confuse and interfere with the rhythm and pitch of English. So we used kazoos to practice those words and phrases that have the pyramid effect. And we talked a lot about schwa, which is that reduced sound that we see in every reduced word in its vowel, like gonna, coulda, it's the sound. Hot and cold, cup of tea, I'm gonna go, what do you want? What do you want to drink? Words like to and have, all the little function words, as opposed to content words, which are nouns and verbs, all the little function words that don't carry the meaning, those get reduced to schwa. I just said it right there. And then we looked at this wonderful example of the stress-timed nature of English compared to other languages that have syllable-timed rhythm, where the longer an utterance is, the longer it takes to say it. But in English, it takes the exact same amount of time to say all these sentences because the focus words always get longer and louder, and these little function words that are not stressed here, not in bold, they get squeezed in around the cracks of the important words, and they get squished and said really quickly like this. Birds eat worms. The birds eat worms. The birds eat the worms. The birds will eat the worms. The birds will have eaten the worms. Then we moved into consonants. We looked at the B and the P, and we looked at W, W, and we looked at V and B. And then we moved into two of the trickiest ones for a lot of people, L and R. The main difference to remember here is that L, the tip of the tongue actually touches the roof of the mouth. Oh. And in R, it does not. It points back and the air rushes over the tongue. And the sides of the tongue may touch the top teeth, but the tip of the tongue is not touching anything at all. So we spent a lot of time on L and R, and then we moved into intonation, which is the voice going up and down. And we talked about when the voice goes up, what kinds of questions, yes, no questions, it goes up. Do you live here? And information questions, it goes down. Where do you live? With the peak word being the focus of the sentence. Where do you live? And dropping off after that. And the last thing we looked at was thought groups. This idea that in English you have to break up your ideas by taking a pause, but you don't bring your voice down until the very end of the sentence. So in the math example here, 3 times 4 plus 2 equals 18. At the end, you can drop off your voice. In the middle, it's important to take breaks, but don't drop your voice down until the end. 3 times 4 plus 2 equals 14. And that's pretty much it. Thank you everyone so much for your hard work, and you can come back and review this presentation anytime.